Hi everyone, thank you for joining me live, and for everyone who'll be joining me on the replay, thank you for joining me as well. If it's the first time that we're meeting, my name is Isabel from healthandnaturallife.com. I work with energy healing, animal communication, all things related to consciousness, us understanding our true abilities, capabilities, capacities, what's innate to our human potential and template, and how to bring it forth, how to express it, how to live our lives to the fullest and create, actually deliberately create or co-create the life that we want to live. And this series, it's all about that, especially in a world that's changing so much, and the old paradigm of atoms action reaction thing is kind of fading, and we're entering the new energy paradigm that everything around us is energy. We are energy, we create through energy. And today I'll be sharing, it's not sure if it's a tool, if it's a perception hack, what it is, but it is something that I've experienced for months actually, but that this week I was really paying attention to it. And I think I'm not the only one that actually has this type of experience, so I want to share with you, and I would love to hear your perspective and your feedback on it as well. And it's a way that we perceive the world. And I feel that in our times now, we have kind of flattened our perception of the world. And let me just explain what I mean by that. It's that we see in 3D. We see that perception, we know that this is close to me, that is far away. But what I've noticed in the past few months, and especially this week I was paying attention to it, is that when we look at a distance, and for instance, I have a window in front of me, we see what's at a distance flattened, almost as if we're watching the world in screen mode. So in screens, we see everything in a 2D screen. We still have depth perception, so we still understand what's 3D, what's in the distance, what's close, but it's a flattened perspective of that landscape or whatever it is that we're watching. And I feel that for myself, I have actually projected that same type of perception into the world around me. So if I look outside my window, just normal looking, I see everything. I know what's close and what's not, but it's almost like it's a screen, a big screen that I'm still seeing in 2D as opposed to a full depth perception 3D. And what I was noticing, actually first, when I really noticed that this was the case for me, was that I'm in a building, so I'm on the 4th floor. There are birds that fly by, and sometimes I have flocks of doves that just fly by in front of my balcony. And when they fly by, it's almost like my brain does a double take, like a shift. I shift from perceiving in 2D, which would be a very left brain, just superficial type of perception, into a full depth perception 3D. So I know that I'm here. I know that at that distance there are birds, doves flying, and I can see the space that they are moving through. I can't see the space, but I can perceive the space that they are moving through, and still see the trees and the park in the background. So it moves from being a landscape, static, almost 2D, even if there are people walking, it still feels like 2D, to a full depth perception of 3D. That's how it came up for me, that I was actually flattening my perception of the world. And then I started noticing if I did this with everything. So in the house, I still do that. So if I'm perceiving something in the distance, it's still 2D. If I'm driving, same thing. There is almost like a screen mode perception of what's happening. And this might seem kind of trivial, or really that it doesn't matter, but what I've noticed is that first, it's a much different felt experience of life to see something on a screen or to see something in full depth perception, with the richness, with the awareness of space, with the sensorial, physical experience of that space, of the richness, of the movement, of the different layers of existence of the things around us. So it's a much richer perception. And second, I noticed that the flattened view, more and more I realize that it's just full left brain mode. So most of us are trained in our society, Western culture at least, to perceive things through our rational left brain mind. So we process things a lot, we have lots of meanings, lots of words, and that kind of creates a separation, a filter between our felt experience of the world and actually our thought experiments and our meanings, images created of the world. We usually live in the images, in the creation, instead of the felt, embodied perception of the world. So this type of shift in perception from the flat screen to the mode to the 3D full perception mode is something that helps us shift from a predominant left brain perception to a more right brain approach, a more right brain perception. And again, it enriches our life tremendously, but it also brings all the benefits of a right brain perception mode. So intuition, presence, connection to the flow of creativity, of inspiration, of our own broader understanding of things, of our felt perception, of our heart field that's connected with everything. This simple little thing that just seems so inconsequential, for me at least, of flattening 2D mode, screen mode perception, and shifting it to a more 3D has a lot of very practical changes that it creates in our life. Hi EFT, thank you for joining me live. So I was also playing with this in a different way. So I was fortunately just enjoying a beach, and I was noticing that my mind was jittery and all over the place. Even though I felt calm, I realized that my mind was just jumping up and down and just going all over the place. And I decided to do something that I learned from, I don't remember his name now, but it was an exercise to just focus on the horizon in the distance. I couldn't do it. That perception of depth all the way to the horizon, my mind was just trying to run away to all different places possible, and I was feeling an amount of just stress and tension, and this type of tightening coming up that was amazing, just from trying to look at the horizon and just expand my perception from being here closed in my mind's somersaults to just expand, open up my energy just by looking and focusing on the horizon. So this is something that's very practical even for us, that if we find that our mind is just chattering all over the place and we are feeling contracted, we're feeling like this, constricted, anything that will help you get into that depth perception instead of being closed here will help your mind soothe. It might be uncomfortable, like it was for me. It took me a while to actually be able to focus on the horizon and just start opening. And it wasn't a start opening deliberately, it was that just by focusing on the horizon, my mind started to expand. And that probably was the discomfort, was all of the things that were causing the jittery thoughts coming, the tension coming to the surface until it just naturally moved out. And the horizon, we can do this. I'm reading that with driving in life that there is a monotony of things. In your comment, EFT, it is true that we get bored and we just jump to right to left brain mode. But this is actually the antidote to that type of boredom. If we are in traffic, look at the horizon. I would say even while driving, but please be careful. because I do this sometimes. We almost drive in automatic mode, but if we start looking, instead of, if there isn't traffic around us, or if the road is somewhat clear and we don't have to pay a lot of attention to the cars around us, if we start looking at the horizon while we are driving, we will feel first our mind starts to expand. We start to become more present, and our body almost does this, starts to calm down. We become more embodied. We have a space, an awareness of the space around us. We become much more aware to everything that's going on around the car, other drivers, the road, everything. And it is something that we can do if we are in traffic. Better, you can just look ahead, even if you're stopped completely, parking lot type of traffic. Look ahead to as far away as you can, check the cars, and start noticing the 2D, I'm assuming, because I don't think it's just me, the 2D perception that you have, and start focusing in a way that you start to perceive the space. So there's this car in front of me, then there's that car, and you continue to hold the perception of the car in front of you, and then you start adding one more car, one more car, one more car, until you realize, oh, there is this huge expanse of space in between me and the farthest car that I can look at. That will take away the boredom. That will bring us back to present moment. That will bring us back to actually a very rich experience of even being in traffic. Crazy as that might seem. And there are other ways to do this. For instance, when you are sitting down, if you're finding yourself again in mode, one, you can use the horizon thing, even if you are in a closed room. If you can close your eyes and you can imagine with your eyes closed a line, a horizon line inside your mind, of course, far away, as if you were seeing really a true horizon, but with your eyes closed. If you can imagine that line in the middle of your field of vision, way in the distance, that will have a very similar effect, and it will start pulling your awareness. By the way, don't project yourself towards it. Stay in your core, stay in your body, stay in your center while you're doing this mentally. Stay in your center and just imagine the horizon in front of you. Eyes closed, you'll start to feel the same type of relaxation. It's probably easier to do it with eyes open because it feels more natural for us, but it's something that can be done with eyes closed as well. Or another way to trigger this more right brain perception, this depth space perception, is to actually feel the space around us. We always have objects around us, I would say. So just look at an object and feel into the space in between you and that object. And it might be easy for you, especially if you are more of a right brain person. This will be easy. If you're a left brain person, this will be useful. Let's just put it like that. And it does take a little bit of practice, because it will start to bring us more into right brain processing, with again all the benefits that come from it, and right left brain integration. And that's really where we want to be. Brilliance of the left brain in processing things, in creating practical solutions. Brilliance of the right brain in actually perceiving the entire situation, receiving inspiration, receiving intuition, in having creative solutions. Both of them together, match made in heaven. And that's how we are supposed to live. And this bringing a more 3D perception of depth and space will help us shift into right brain mode a lot more. So we start to practice that harmony in between both sides of the brain. Another way that we can do this is when we're walking, for instance. We're walking, we're either glazed, we don't even see where we're walking, or we have destination focus. We're looking at where we're going, and everything in between is just noise. We can start actually becoming aware of the moving things. As we are walking, we're the ones moving, but we perceive the landscape, or wherever it is that we're walking, moving past us. and that will do the same thing. It will create that depth perception. It will bring us into our body. It's actually one of the tools that is applied in increasing the focus in your eyes. So in healing any type of eye problems, this type of focus and perception of seeing things moving past you as you walk is very healing for our eyes, because we're not trying to grab onto anything. We're just letting the landscape flow through us as we walk, and we can do this anytime. It's just a matter of practice, and it can be frustrating. And I'm saying this because of my experience. It can be frustrating when I'm just in real left brain mode. Even trying to perceive things moving through me as I'm walking just shifts immediately from, oh, I'm perceiving it, to, nope, I've locked into destination mode again. So it's a shift in perception. And our left brain is very used to have dominance. So it can be, a little bit of a play. Mouse and cat running after each other type of play sometimes. Another thing, for instance, that I was doing this morning, and that might be useful and might be easier sometimes, is that I had breakfast. It's 11 a.m. here. Had breakfast, was doing the dishes. As I was washing something, I had the sink with other glasses and cups. As I was washing something, I was noticing, okay, I'm washing this, but I'm also perceiving in the background the other dishes, the other glasses, cups. So that also brought that same sense of 3D perception instead of the flattened or not even existent rest of the dishes and sink. It just brought again that sense of depth and presence to doing the dishes, which for me is a double win right there. So just something as simple as that can become a doorway, a gate for us to enter a more embodied, felt experience of life. And I think that's very useful and a very beautiful thing. And let me just check what you were saying. The Sufis call this meeting of the two hemispheres, where the two oceans meet. And I think that's beautiful. And yeah, we need our two oceans to meet, because one of them is constantly, for most of us, of course, it won't be for everyone, is constantly trying to override the other. No, we need both of them, because of the way that we are living now. It's not healthy for us. It's not healthy for our bodies. It's not healthy then for our even society. It's left brain mode just becomes very life. It's not life draining. It's almost like there isn't life. There is just a projection, a picture of something that is an objective for us, either to go to a certain place, goal, destination, or just for us to use. Whereas this type of depth perception starts bringing back the felt, embodied connection actually to life, the presence, the richness of life, and it can be very healing. So let me just check. Oh, I wanted to check, I have a little list of things that I wanted to suggest in terms of the exercises. I think I've covered them all. Another thing that I wanted to suggest is to just, whenever you want, if you're feeling that your body's contracting, you can also do the same thing inside. You can imagine that it's just pure empty space. And we talked about this in the Finding Your Peace Anytime, Anywhere video, and the other one that I talked as well about stillness and spaciousness. And this helps our body become much more relaxed, our mind open and relaxed. This is almost like moving from listening to sound in 2D to a full Dolby surround around us, a 10.0 type of surround. It just becomes much richer, and it's brilliant actually for expanding our mind and our ability to creatively solve problems. So it's almost like the things that are happening in your life that you feel are a challenge for you somehow, it's almost as if your regular perception is a drawing of the problem, and practicing this type of depth perception, of space perception, it's almost like you take that drawing and it just flashes out to become a 3D full representation of it. And you can then start seeing it from different angles, from much more detail. You start to have a much more complete picture of what's happening and possible solutions and exits and anything. So it becomes a much more information rich, but not in a thinking way, in a really understanding, felt, intuitive way of what is happening. And with that rich perception and your connection then to your intuition, it just becomes much more easy for you to just find your perfect way towards the state, the balance, the harmony that you want to experience. Another tool that I did want to share, because this one just kept popping in my mind, probably because of the title of the video, Expand Your Life, is something that I learned from Penny Pierce, and she calls it Expand Your Sphere by 50%. And this comes from her book, Leap of Perception, one of my all-time favorite books. And this is for us to just imagine. It's not related to space per se, but it does help with this type of expansion of our minds and of our lives. Just imagine that you have your energy sphere, biofield around you, and you start imagining that it just becomes 50% bigger, 50% brighter, 50% more luminous. And just notice how you start feeling. Because usually when we're focused on problems, again, we're in left brain mode and we're in contracted mode, we're in flattened mode, and we bring our energy here. Anything that I shared will help expand our energy, but this is a fun thing to play with as well, because as you expand in size, in brightness, in luminosity, even in coherence, if you want to see your energy become more beautiful, more coherent, more harmonious, 50% more, we start tuning into the state where we already have the solutions. So it's a beautiful thing just to play with, and it's so simple that you can just do this anytime, anywhere, if it resonates with you. And I think that's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you, EFT, for the comments. I will go through them afterwards as well, because those were some beautiful things that you shared. I really appreciate it. If there are any questions, I would love still to hear your experience, if you do perceive things as screen mode, or if it's just me. I don't think it is just me, but then again, left brain might be doing this to me as a kind of oh, let's play with something different now. Let me know if you have any questions, comment, like, share, whatever you feel inspired. Thank you for joining me live. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next video.